Welcome back to CBS News 24/7. Federal workers offered a government buyout face a deadline today. So today is the last day to take that deal. Nearly 10,000 USAID employees are set to be on leave. Many protested in D.C. last night before our cameras. Many of them say that this will cause people to die without help from critical humanitarian aid that USAID provides. So let's drill down on this because you're going to be hearing a lot about USAID in the weeks to come. It's not been without criticism from both sides of the aisle. So let's break it down with Olivia Rinaldi. Let's get really granular because we know that DOGE is getting really granular. What are some of the policy positions? What are some of the directions the money has flowed that has really caused some people on both sides of the aisle to be in question?
Yeah, Reed, a lot of questions about how USAID actually spends their money. Our Confirmed team went through and looked at line by line where some of this money gets spent. And let me just read through some of these reports that we have found. There was a claim from the Trump administration that about $2 million was spent in USAID funds for a Moroccan pottery class. That is true. In 2009, USAID allotted about $27 million for an economic development project in Morocco. Now, pottery is an economic engine there, and their tile industry is world-renowned. A lot of tourists go there and make pottery. That's something that happens. But the question remains of why U.S. taxpayer dollars are being used to fund a program like this that was later found to be, quote, ineffective. There was also a claim that $20 million was spent on a Sesame Street show created for Iraq. This is also true. USAID used about $20 million of partner funding to work with the Sesame Street Workshop to produce a program that would promote inclusion, mutual respect, and understanding across ethnic, religious, and sectarian groups. That is a quote from their website. And this project was supposed to run from 2021 to 2027. Another claim that our team had fact-checked and looked at was that there was a $70,000 DEI musical that was being produced in Ireland. Also true. The Department of State, as a part of a public diplomacy program, awarded about $70,000 in 2022 for a live musical event that would promote the U.S. and Irish shared values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is all a part of government records. And just finally, another one that I want to read to you that we found as a part of our look at this line-by-line item was another eye-popping figure, about $9 million of funds that were supposed to be used for food and medical supplies for Syrian civilians actually ended up in the hands of a terrorist. This is someone who was using these funds, diverting them to terrorist organizations, including one that's affiliated with Al-Qaeda. So there are a lot of questions surrounding USAID, and of course they do good work when it comes to vaccines. People I've talked to who were even critical about the way some of these funds were spent say that their work on PEPFAR to combat HIV, AIDS in countries all across the world is significant and has actual tangible results. But when you look line by line at some of how these $40 billion of funds allocated by Congress are actually spent, there's a lot in here leaving a lot of questions to a lot of people.
Right, and a lot of people wanting to trace the votes of who greenlit some of these things that spends U.S. taxpayer dollars. It really punctuates what President Trump said about the America First agenda. While we're talking about the president, I have to ask you about something that he said on Truth Social today. He's accusing USAID of illegally paying Politico and other outlets as a payoff for creating good stories about Democrats. Any truth to those claims?
Yeah, let's break that down a little bit. So what he's talking about there is some funds that get used by the federal government, different federal agencies, to pay for Politico Pro. Now, Politico Pro is used in public sector and private sector. And what it is it's fact-based reporting, real-time intelligence. Think of it like a tracking tool. It's almost like a research tool that a lot of people in federal government use because it provides minute-by-minute updates of really granular things that are happening across government. So we know that USAID spent about $20,000 in the 2023 fiscal year for Politico Pro. There was also a figure that we can confirm that about $8 million of federal funding is spent in Politico products. That's across the federal government. That's all aspects of it. And I should point out, members of Congress also use Politico Pro. They use it to keep updates of what's going on, even on Congress. As we know, there's a lot happening there all the time, and not every office can keep up with it. I do want to read a statement from Politico Pro where they said that Politico has never been, quote, a beneficiary of government programs or subsidies, not 1 cent ever in 18 years. Really, not in agreement with what Trump said about the illegality of Politico. They're saying that this is a product that actually works, and people in federal government use it because it provides such factual and recent and up-to-date information.
Well, regardless, it's an important discussion because we're talking about American taxpayer dollars, and that's why I love the CBS News Confirmed team drilling down, fact-checking, and offering it in a very fair and unbiased way. We appreciate you so much, and if you're like me, you'll follow CBS News Confirmed right there in the palm of your hand on social media. It is invaluable.